Thanks for being part of my first vegetable garden. I'm starting a series. Some of it will be done just like this in my office. Most of it will be out in the garden. But it's how you become more self-sufficient in growing food. And I decided the first video is going to be about something you may not think would be the first, video. And that's really on fertilizer. We're going to talk about selecting the right plot, how do you do it the right way, and then planting, growing stuff indoors, everything. But the first thing you have to do to become more self-sufficient, besides have the interest, is to understand what is out in the commercial world. So that you're not getting ripped off, you're not spending extra money on things you don't need. So that you can take your dollar, get the best bang for it, so to speak, with buying the right things, if you even have to buy anything at all. I'm going to teach you how to make compost, and that is really what organic gardening is about, and that's what your garden really wants. So we're going to start with these fertilizers. If you're a brand new gardener and you're like, hey, I want to become more self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency means being less dependent on institutions like grocery stores, having to earn money to buy food. You're going to grow your own food. You're going to use your space, become more self-sufficient, learn skills. But you have to understand what you're buying, because these fertilizers, most of them are kind of gimmicky. They're commercialized. They're wanting you to spend maximum dollar for something your garden doesn't necessarily need. We'll talk more about that. So these are all organic fertilizers. There's nothing wrong with any of these companies. These fertilizers work. They're a convenience. So I understand, buying them, you spend money, the company should make money. But they're selling you more than you need. They're charging you more than you need. So I want to spend this time just educating you on what happens when you go to the store for the first time to buy fertilizers. You walk in, you're going to see all kinds of things. It's going to say, fertilizers will say garden tone, flower tone, plant tone. You'll find stuff for tomato tone. You'll find other companies that will say fruit and berry fertilizers, pepper fertilizers, leafy green fertilizers, fertilizers for blooms, fertilizers for more production. You'll see fertilizers like this. This is another company that says tomato, vegetable, and herb fertilizers. You'll find separate bags of fertilizers that say for herbs, for roses, for garden flowers. First rule, get rid of all of that. There's no such thing as specialized fertilizers. These all have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and it is true, and that's how they kind of fool you. It is true that if you have more nitrogen, you get more green leafy growth. If you have more phosphorus and potassium, you can get more blooms and more fruit production, more peppers, more tomatoes, for example. But in a home garden, the amount of fertilizers right here sprinkled on your beds in the planting hole are going to make no difference on whether you get more leafy green, more blooms, more production. And the reason being is these pretty much have low amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those are the three main macronutrients that your plants need to grow. That's what you add in pretty regularly. Again, compost is going to be the best way to do that. So yes, if you're, really enjoying the science of fertilizer, and you have a fertilizer that has like a 10 or 15 potassium or 20 phosphorus, and you deliver it at the right time to your plants, you're going to get more blooms, maybe more production. Using these just in a normal way, you're still going to get great production, great blooms. It doesn't matter. So first thing, anywhere you see garden tone, tomato tone, herb fertilizer, fruit fertilizer, throw that out the window. You should just look at all fertilizers just like this. A blank bag that says whatever it says, just consider it a garden fertilizer. Garden fertilizers, use anywhere, any plant, flower, fruit, vegetable, doesn't matter. Garden fertilizer. They will have a number on them, N, P, and K, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Those are the big three. They're going to have other elements in there for your granular type slow release fertilizers, like right under there. You don't have to over worry about that, especially if you're first getting started. Learn more about that as time goes by. So nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, that's represented by a number right on the bag. And it's over on this side. 4, 6-3, 4% nitrogen, 6% phosphorus, 3% potassium, N, P, and K. That's a fine number. The numbers on these bags I'm going to show you, it may be like a 533 or 422 or 426. That variation doesn't matter enough in these types of fertilizers. And the real reason is one, you don't know what's out in your garden or where your garden's going to be. They're going to have different levels of phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, and other elements. You can do a soil test, but please subscribe. I'll be talking about that in this series, Becoming More Self-Sufficient Growing Food. So you have the different numbers. When you throw this fertilizer out onto the ground, it slowly is broken down by soil biology. So that soil biology has to transform the ingredients in here into a form the plant can use, and that can take weeks and months. So you're just getting little bits of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium released into the ground when the soil microbiology does its work, and then the plant pulls it in. So these subtle number differences really don't matter because a lot of it's based on the timing of how the soil life, the temperatures break this fertilizer down. All these are doing is delivering nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium to your garden. That's all you have to worry about. So you come to the next level is how much do you want to pay for these? By pound, so you have to take the price and divide it by the amount, the weight here. So this one I can tell you, it's 1 pound, it's like $5 or $6 for this little bag. This little bag is only going to do a small part of your garden, and $5 or $6 a pound is just way too much. You know, I recommend don't spend that. You want to spend about $1 to $2 per pound. At a $5 bag of fertilizer, $2 a pound would be 10. You're rarely going to find fertilizer for $1 a pound, except where states that have winters, you can find these on sale. So I often just wait till December, January, buy my products on sale. If you're in a place that's where you can garden throughout the year, that's just not going to happen. But look for a price range that you're comfortable with between $1 or $2. If you're getting above $2, unless you really love the fertilizer, you're starting to pay too much. But that's really up to you. The next thing is really the ingredients, and all the bags, I'll show you the bags so that you can see the N, P, and K numbers and the ingredients. All the ingredients are going to be very, very similar. There's nothing fancy in here. There's no reason why you want to spend $5 a pound or $2 a pound. You're not getting much that's different. They may have various ingredients, but when it comes to feeding your plants, it's all the same. So you're going to see bone meal, blood meal, feather meal, fish meal, alfalfa meal. Anytime it says meal, that's usually just a byproduct. So bone meal is a byproduct of slaughterhouse cows usually. It's the steam crushed bones of those animals. Blood meal is usually bovine or pig blood from slaughterhouses. Feather meal is the plucked feathers from chickens that we eat. Alfalfa meal is probably not a byproduct, but it's just alfalfa grown, shredded up, put into these products. And alfalfa is a good fertilizer, but you can get a 40-pound bag of alfalfa feed in pellet form for like 20 bucks. If you divide 40 into 20, what is that, 50 cents? That's a perfect fertilizer. I have videos on my other channel where I recommend using alfalfa as an organic fertilizer. Then you get to things that are a little more exotic, like green sand and kelp. They don't add much. You know, they're just kind of thrown in there. You don't even know what percentage. As you look at ingredients, they start with whatever is first is the most. And then you work your way down the list, and whatever is listed last is usually the least amount. So you might just have a pinch of kelp or green sand in there, and they can list it on the bag as something. So don't get fooled by fancy packaging. Look at everything just like this. It's garden fertilizer. It has N, P, and K. Should be $1 to $2 per pound in my opinion. You can spend more if you want. And then you want to read the ingredients, because when you look at the ingredients, I don't know how well it'll show up on here. Let's see if we can do it. Well, it's going to be tough, but let's see. You can see fish bone meal, alfalfa meal, fish meal, kelp flour. That one's a little bit different, nothing fancy. When we look at this one, we're going to see, let's get it into focus. Feather meal, poultry manure, bone meal, alfalfa meal, green sand. You go over to this one, and you can see the NP and K number right up here, where that is a 344 NP and K. And then we see feather meal, poultry manure, bone meal, alfalfa meal, green sand. Not much different. It's the same company. Tomato Tone and Garden Tone. Tomato Tone has a 346 NP and K, and this one had a 344 NP and K. Those numbers, again, for the home garden, for when you're getting started, just aren't going to make a difference. You could just, if you like this company, I like Espoma. They're a good company. They make good fertilizer. You don't need to spend your money and buy 2 bags, is my point. You don't just have to give this to tomatoes. This says tomato and vegetable. This one says herb and vegetable food. Buy 1 bag, whatever's on sale, whatever you like, whatever meets your budget. And you can use Garden Tone for everything in your garden, including tomatoes. You can just buy this and then use Tomato Tone for everything in your garden, including herbs and other vegetables. You just don't need to buy different things. Like, you don't need a flower tone back there. You could actually just buy flower tone and feed your tomatoes, your herbs, and the rest of your plants. Hopefully you understand that. I think that is, and it is also the reason I wanted to do the first video in the series on educating you on fertilizers. So that's one way to save money, become more self-sufficient, because you're going to have to put out some capital to build your garden, and you want to do it in the least expensive way. Eventually, I'm going to talk about when you have room. Not everybody has room for it, but you want to get away from this and you just want to go to compost. That's what makes the biggest difference. The other thing that people try, or companies try and get you on, is when you see things like this. This says True Biotic inside. And when you look, it's really looking at, let's get a nice close-up in focus if it happens. There we go. Is non-plant food ingredients, mycorrhizae, I can't even pronounce it, bacillus, glamis, all those things. They're telling you they're a form of fungus, microbiology, that if you put this into the ground, you're going to have these microbes that help your garden out. That's not untrue. It's just unnecessary. Your garden is already full of the soil life that they're saying is in here. So don't think that just because it says True Biotics here, that this is better than something else that doesn't say it has microbes in it. If you don't have microbes in your garden and you need to rely on the fertilizers to have them, your plants aren't going to grow. You're going to have to get a bunch of compost. You're going to have to build that soil up, and you're going to have to go a different route. So, for instance, like maybe this company was the first one to come out with True Biotics. So this one, now it's like, well, people are buying that because it has True Biotics. They have to come up with something that's called Biotone. Biotone for them, let's see where it is on here, is right there. Let's get that into focus. That's the bacillus, same ingredients in the other ones. Colony forming units, all that kind of stuff. It's already in the garden. You don't need it. A healthy soil has the microbiology nature put in there. You just don't have to spend money. I know this one is Biotone. If you go to another company, I think it's Job's, they have a Biozome. And it's just like toothpaste. Like when one toothpaste company comes out with double whitening and hydrogen peroxide, then the next company has to be triple whitening and super hydrogen peroxide. They start playing this game to get you attracted to the packaging, seeing all these exotic things on here. You get fooled, you spend more money, you get overwhelmed, maybe you don't even start gardening. Look at all fertilizers just like this. You know, any fertilizer will feed all the plants in your yard. You want NP and K, you want the numbers to be around, if you can find it, a balanced fertilizer, a 555, but a 433, a 524, a 643, it doesn't matter in a home garden. Yes, if you want to significantly tweak phosphorus and potassium with your plants, it can change how they bloom and how they produce. But the truth to that is you have to know exactly when to apply it so it affects the plants. When you put these down again, you could scatter down a whole bag in a space it's not necessarily going to up the phosphorus and potassium that day or that week or in 2 weeks. Slowly, a little bit will be, getting to the root system in a form that the plants can use it. But this takes weeks and months to break down. So don't overthink fertilizer. Buy what's on sale, $1 to $2 per pound. Read the ingredients. You'll see that the ingredients are the same across all products. And if you're in a state that has winters, very often these products go on sale December through January and you can get a discount. For example, I've gotten 20-pound bags of fertilizer for like $3. You do have to look around, and if you want to know the stores, that's like Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, the big box stores where you have winters, look for those sales. So this is the first episode. Please subscribe. My brother and I will show you how to grow your first vegetable garden, or teach you how to have a better garden if you've been growing for a while. But I'm going to be doing an ongoing series in my office, out in the garden, on how to become more self-sufficient growing food. So the first lesson, don't get fooled by packaging. Understand what you're buying, spend the least amount of money as possible, and have fun in the garden. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. And again, please subscribe. I'll be doing the second series soon on growing food. Thanks for watching.